Hi. Can anybody hear me?
Jeannie, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, I'm gonna mute you until we start, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
That door. Yeah. Can we close
The council door, yes.
council door? Yeah. Could all turn off their microphone?
Jeannie?
Yes.
Wait. I don't see that. Oh,
Yeah, I'm
okay,
on.
can you see us?
Yes, I can see you now. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. Emily is here, Natalie is here.
Alyssa, are you there?
Uh-huh.
Why are we seeing that icon?
I don't know why
Is that
icon
Jeannie?
is-
No video?
Yeah, that's Jeannie's. That's Jeannie?
That's her screen.
Okay, she's muted.
Right.
Okay, so that just. There we go.
Okay, it's gallery.
Good job.
All right, good evening and welcome to this meeting of the Kingston Common Council's Finance and Audit Committee. We are getting underway here at 6:37 on the 10th day of April 2024. And as is now our current practice, we will start with an overview of our financial situation from our comptroller, John Toohey.
Thank you, Ernie. I will keep it brief. I see we have a pretty agenda to get through. Just kind of follow up on the trend we were speaking the last few months. We're in the transition from measuring the 23 results moved over to 24. This is the first monthly update where I've given you some highlights from the 2024 figures to date. We are wrapping up the 23 numbers this month. We do expect a small surplus. Nothing's changed, from my projections there. So far, 24 looks like in line with 23. I will say that there's probably going to be slightly more pressure in the 24 figures than 23. Just keep in mind, we're starting with this much smaller contingency balance, which is almost depleted as of right now. So further unanticipated expenditures, we'll have a little bit of contingency to draw from, but after that, we'll either have to find elsewhere in the budget or we'll have to go to fund balance. On the good news side of the equation is sales tax. So far has been pretty strong comparative to last year. It just keeps plugging along. As of the most recent update that we received from the state, our pass through from the county on sales tax, we will be at 7.73% over where we were at this time last year. So some pretty strong growth. I would expect that to level. I'd expect that to level out. I don't think we're, I'd be pleasantly surprised if we stayed at that level throughout the year. That's mainly driven by one large receipt that was $241,000 over the prior year figure. But kind of going through the historical results, we finished last year at 19,573,000 in sales tax. Our budget this year is 19,325,000. So we really just need to hold the line where we were last year to exceed budget this year. And so far we're well above that. So I'll keep you updated. So far, so good. And like I said, once state report is finished, I'll send everyone a copy. I'll do my normal memo to the council give those results. And our audit will be picking up in the month of May. So, great. Any questions? Just let me know. Where to find me.
So if we got 94% of the eclipse, do we get 94% of the eclipse bump? Tourism
Eclipse
money?
sales tax.
Eclipse sales tax?
We didn't get an eclipse sales tax. We could consider that.
I didn't think of that.
We missed out.
If
Next
we were
one.
in 100% bracket, we would have tax, right?
Yeah, for those listening.
Yeah, I've been reading, some towns that double the amount of districts. So, anyway,
All right. We will now move on to the various reports. Committee reports. The first one is a budget transfer request from Civil Services. Jackie, always civil.
Good evening. Good evening. All right.
Good, welcome. New computer and a little bit else.
Yeah, I just covered the conference that we go to every year. There's two of us. That. But mainly it was for the computer. My computer's on its last leg, so I think Kyle has recommended that you do.
Uh-huh,
So I took the money from the vacation buyback line.
okay. So does that mean no vacations for anybody this year?
No, that's just the vacation buyback for the managers. So I just will use my vacation.
Right.
Better for my mental health anyways.
All right. Any questions for Jackie about this one? It's a $0 financial impact.
Nope.
Second.
Thank you.
Hi.
And have a good night.
Yeah, we're on right now. As far as we know, we are. So Elissa apparently is not aware that we are on.
I still, wait, she's anywhere.
You guys are, I can see you on my phone and I can see on the computer, so it looks like on mine, everything is good.
Kwame
Who is
says
that?
it's good.
It's Kwame? Kwame, you good? Can you see us?
I can see you guys and I can see you guys on YouTube on my
Okay.
phone as well.
And
Okay.
Okay, so I guess it must be something on this side.
Eclipse related.
yeah, okay, I don't know what, because Elissa sent a thing saying is everything okay. But we've got word from people who are, okay, all right, great. So the eclipse is apparently happening over at Elissa's house. All right, do we have a motion to discuss? Oh, that's completely blank.
Yeah.
All right, well, next time. Once again. No, I just thought those were, I thought somebody put all of them together. Do we have a motion to discuss? Right. Michelle, any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Thank you very much. Anyone opposed? Passed unanimously. This is a request for the transfer of money within the department to cover the cost of a new computer and a conference. The second item, committee report item, is from Emily Flynn. It's a budget request from Health and Wellness, which also will have zero financial impact, if I understand it correctly. And so what's it about, Emily?
Hi, everybody. Emily Flynn, Director of Health and Wellness. That's correct. This budget transfer has zero financial impact. We received a grant for some kitchen supplies. And if colleague Kristen Kessler is in the room, she can answer any questions about the programming. And I'm just here to let you know about the budget transfer.
All right. Thank you very much. Any questions about this?
I'd like to hear more.
Yes.
Yeah, certainly. In the neighborhood center, sorry, I'll come like up from the shadows. Yeah, I'll get scared. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, this is a very different view. Yes, I don't know if I know some of y'all here, but I'm a project manager in Emily's department for health and wellness. I do primarily like food and nutrition work at this point. So I think I've been here before for our Creating Healthy Schools and Communities grant program. This in particular is a small little project, hopefully a program that we're starting called Kingston Cooks. So this will be a series of free community cooking workshops that we're offering out of the new beautifully renovated kitchen space at the Annie Murphy Neighborhood Center. So in collaboration with Parks and Rec, who's letting us utilize this space, we will be having, I think we've got scheduled 7 cooking workshops in 2024. We did a pilot in 2023 as a part of our Kingston Eats campaign, which is a Veggie and Fruit of the Month campaign, which was really successful. We did that in collaboration with Cornell Cooperative Extension of Ulster County and Family of Woodstock. And so in 2024, we're hosting Kingston Eats again. We're doing 4 cooking workshops, and then we have a series of 3 cooking workshops in collaboration with MVP Healthcare and the Institute for Health. So we just, in that space was really wonderful and fantastic. We just needed some additional cooking equipment in order to be able to make these workshops happen. So we received a grant from the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, Hunger and Environmental Nutrition Practice Group, which I am a part of as a dietitian. So yeah, so that's kind of like an overview of like why we needed cooking workshops and our cooking equipment.
For the community, is it free?
Yeah, so the series of 7 workshops that we're doing, and any that we will be able to add on in the future, are all free. The cooking workshops that are part of this cross collaboration with Kingston Eats, there's 4 of them that highlighting the Veggie Fruit of the Month. We received a food sponsorship from Sunflower. So Sunflower Markets heard about it through our community partners, through actually someone at Family of Woodstock, and offered to give us food for those workshops. And then we were able to find a couple of local chefs who are volunteering their time, which is really fantastic. In the future, it'd be great to have more and pay our local chefs. Well, but right now we have so many people who are just so excited about just being really hands-on with food in that kitchen. We've got some really great photos. We can share more about that with y'all, but free for community members. The one through MVP Healthcare and the Institute, that's going to be a little bit more targeted towards the Institute's patients. So we're working both with Dr. Sanchez, who is the medical director at the Pine Street location, as well as a couple of social workers and some of their diabetes educators. So that one's going to be a little bit more focused on not quite diving into chronic conditions because there's a lot of HIPAA there and so forth, but it will be more like managing your blood sugar and targeted towards some of their patients for those workshops. So yeah, free for everybody. There's no limitations on it. We also were able to use the workshop. There's a group called the Teaching Kitchen out of Lenox Hill Neighborhood House that's down in the city, and they provide free farm to institution scratch cooking, like culinary trainings for organizations that do institutional cooking. So because we had all of this additional equipment, we were able to host them last week, and they did a training for folks at the Institute, like Crop Shop. I don't know if y'all know about Crop Shop, but YMCA, let's see, the YMCA Farm Project wasn't there at this one, the Mental Health Association. So we were able to offer that free to people who are involved in like institutional, like a large cooking for communities. That was really cool too. Like I said, so this grant was able to help make that happen.
How many people can you accommodate for the workshops?
For each workshop, so we have put, after the first one, we said about 15 participants with perhaps like 3 instructors. We found that was kind of the sweet spot to have 3 people who were kind of managing the space, because we also do cooking workshops with kids and parents. And so we sometimes have someone who is managing the kids and sometimes someone's managing the parents. So yeah, 18 people about fit in that kitchen space over there. And then we use the senior lounge area. We set up a long table and we have kind of like a family or communal meal where we all sit together. And that's a really important part of the workshop, is eating, cooking together. 'Cause I'm an American, I love food. I'm from New Orleans, like, food is like, I don't know, just something that's so powerful and special to me. And so we wanted to make sure that people were also experiencing that, but also providing people with a warm meal. So if they're taking their time out of their day to come to this workshop, we wanted to make sure we were giving them a meal rather than just a sample. So that's kind of where the limitations on the group size came from. Yeah.
And how do people find out about it?
Yeah, so we, let's see, for our workshops, we put them on our Live on Kingston website. So we've got an events page on the website. It's on our Instagram, our Instagram, our Facebook. We have a newsletter that we send out. Trying to think, we have like a couple of listers. I usually share with a lot of community partners. I create a flyer and say like, do you mind putting this flyer up at your space, like on a community board? And so for the kids ones, we also have partners who work with the school district. So they, one of our partners works with a lot of wellness committees in the elementary schools. And so she shared it around with her partners there, yeah. But any other places, like, let me know, I'll send it around.
And then it's sort of first come, first served until you get your limit.
Yeah, yeah.
Sounds great.
Yeah, super exciting, yeah. If you see that out and you want to come to one of the workshops, please sign up. If you have a child, our next one for kids is in June and it's going to be toddler, so it's going to be chaos, but it's going to be amazing.
So this is for all age levels and all skill levels?
Definitely all skill levels. There's always a food safety and one sort of culinary skill component of the workshops, because we do a survey at the end of it. And what we're finding out from this feedback is that people just want to know the practical skills of like healthy cooking. The age level will depend on the workshop. So we just did one for school age kids and their parents. We're going to do a couple for adults, and then we'll do that one that's specifically for toddlers and their parents. Yeah.
Other questions?
Excited to see all of you there at the workshops.
All
Not
right.
all toddlers. Now, maybe not all the toddlers, that's fair. I have a toddler. Ooh, yeah, we can have it in the future.
All right, do we have a motion to discuss? Steve Shabbat, second by Drew Andrews, the report here. The City of Kingston has obtained additional funding for kitchen supplies that will be used as part of the Kingston Cook programming series of real workshops. The kitchen supplies will include items that are needed to host an interactive cooking workshop and shared meal for approximately 50 to 20 people, including cooking utensils and serving ware. Therefore, I'm now writing to request consideration of a budget transfer in the amount of $1,000. We have already received the Academy of Nutrition, Dietetics, Hunger, and Environmental Nutrition Dietetic Practice Groups and Youth Grant funds, and this will have no financial impact. So it's going to be $1,000 from grant health and wellness to general materials. Any discussion?
The committee report, all of that?
Yeah. That's it.
Thorough.
Yeah. Emily doesn't want to let any details slide by. Except you listen to the rest of you people. All right, hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Unanimously. Thank you, Emily. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to this meeting over here.
Oh, anything to stay away from the toddler? Is that what it is?
Oh, yeah, I think that's bad. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Our next item, number 4 on our list. Yeah, there you are. This is the grants budget transfer for the New York State ESD Restore New York Grant Communities Grant for 236 Wall Street. Can you tell us what this is about?
Yeah, hi, good evening, everyone. We're just requesting a budget transfer related to that grant that we received in 2023 on behalf of CB Developers for the renovation of, like you said, 236 Wall Street, which is the former St. Joseph's School. They've now completed their project and will soon be submitting a request for reimbursement. So we need to get that money in, into the budget so that we can pay them. It's a $1.15 million project.
And this does not involve any money from the city, correct?
Correct.
All right. Any questions for Natalie? Do we know what we're talking about, Michael?
How is live work units defined?
Well, there are residential units that are strictly residential, and the way I understand it is, other than that, there is just going to be community space.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions?
Sounds dystopian way of describing apartment.
Dystopia is the style of the day.
It's your live work, right? That's why we're put on this earth.
All right. I have a motion from Steve Shabbat to discuss. Second,
Second.
Michael Tierney. The committee reports reads, this is a request for transfer of New York State Empire State Development Restore New York Communities Funds in the amount of $1,150,000 from A1699023 New York State Grant to Contracted Services. We will note that CB Developers LLC is responsible for the required 10% match, but this has no financial impact to the city. All right, any discussion? All right, very good. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Anyone opposed?
I'm in favor, sorry.
That one passes unanimously. All right, Natalie, you're back.
Still here. Yes, we're working on another Restore New York application right now, and that one is with Kingston Standard Brewing Company. They plan to renovate the building that is currently next to their current brewery, so that eventually when the project is over, the current space will just be the tasting room, and the new space, sorry, will be just the brewery, the manufacturing operation. So this application requires a resolution showing municipal support.
Okay, look out, Natalie!
Sorry.
Bobcats busting in your house.
I know, he's gonna like scratch my back.
All right, okay. You don't mind, we don't mind. Questions for Natalie on this one? So same thing, basically a pass-through grant for us.
Yes.
All right.
Do you all know that Kingston Standard is award winning? They just won
Which award did it win?
Governor, do you remember New York State, the Governor's Cup or something?
Very nice.
Cool.
Very nice.
I mean, is there any like residual experience that we get from this?
Maybe they'll give us a free
We get to
oyster.
drink from the cup? All right, this one reads, this is a request for authorization of the mayor to apply and execute an agreement, any and all related documents for a grant from the New York State Empire State Development Restore New York Communities Program, round 8, in the amount of $2 million for Kingston Standard LLC's Kingston Standard Phase 2 project. Kingston Standard LLC is responsible for the required 10% match being a pass-through. There is zero financial impact to the city. Do we have a motion to discuss?
Motion.
Michael Tierney, second by Steve Shabbat. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously. All right. Natalie, this is starting to turn into a habit.
And there will be more next month. So this year, we were awarded a $500,000 grant from the USDA Forest Service to hire an urban forester. And this resolution is just for authorization to execute the agreement with the pass-through entity, which is American Forests. So the urban forester will work with the planning department and basically do all things tree and forest related to the city, including working with the tree commission, the public, various city departments on both programs and as a consult on projects that involve trees. So the goals associated with this position include things like increased canopy cover, maintenance of the tree inventory, implementation of the tree management plan, and increasing the overall number of trees in the city.
Excellent. Any questions for Natalie? Andrew?
Will this, I mean, DPW will still be in charge of maintaining the trees, so will they be kind of advising them through that? Or you said several departments, are they one of the departments?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. They'll work together and figure out the best way. Like basically, the way I understand it is the urban forester will kind of consult on like tree health, which types of trees to plant, which ones to remove, pruning, best practices, things along that line.
Oh, thank you.
Michael?
Can the forester prescribe controlled burns to city property?
You mean like for the burning of Kingston in October?
I was thinking for some of the undergrowth that's grown in some of our parks.
I'm not sure, but I see Chief is sitting in there.
Giving you a look. Maybe some guts from Foresight Nature Center.
Yeah.
Yes, so Natalie, will the forester be able to advise the tree commission in terms of, let's say, if a resident has a tree that, you know, might need, you know, that they want to take down, but maybe it's healthy or unhealthy, there'll be somebody who can instruct them as to whether or not, what's the way to properly treat the tree to keep it healthy, things like that?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, thanks.
And as far as you know, is it clear to anyone in the who might be hired for this job that this is a 4-year limited contract? It's not becoming a permanent employee of the city?
I don't think I can answer that at the moment.
No, I mean, at this point, it is a civil service position that's been posted, and, you know, we cannot time limit a civil service position.
Okay. All right. Do we have a motion to discuss?
Second.
Drew Andrews' motion, Sarah Paskey, second. Description, this is a request for authorization for the mayor to execute an agreement and on any and all related documents with the American Forests related to a grant in the amount of $500,000 awarded for the hiring of an urban forester for 4 years. There is no match requirement for this grant, hence estimated financial impact $0. Any discussion? Looking forward to having this expertise on staff. Hearing no discussion, I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously. Excellent. And I believe one more from you, Natalie.
Yes, this is a request for a resolution allowing the mayor to apply for a FEMA SAFER grant for about $3 million, and that will help us hire 6 additional firefighters and or paramedics.
Okay, and so at this point, this would cover those positions. So for now, there would be no financial impact.
That's right, no financial impact.
Okay. Any questions for Natalie? Go ahead,
I
Sarah.
have a question. So when would the results of the grant be available, which would start the hiring process?
I think they'll generally let us know in a few months.
Oh, that's quick. That's great.
Other questions? Hearing no questions, then I'll call for motion. Motion. Steve Shabbat, second by Sarah Pasty. The description is, this is a request for authorization for the mayor to apply and execute an agreement and any and all related documents for staffing for adequate fire and emergency response safer grant from the Department of Homeland Security / Federal Emergency Management Agency in the amount of $3 million for the hiring of 6 new firefighter paramedics. There is no local match required. Chief, do you want to say anything about this, actually?
Actually, this is the first year that I don't have a match. We don't have a match.
Oh, wow, that's great.
Our previous safer grants, we had to match 35% the first 2 years, then 65% last year.
Wow.
So this year, we're all in, so no matching.
That's good to hear.
Excellent.
So is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you, Natalie. We appreciate all that work.
Thanks so much. Have a great night.
The next item, the potential sale of 168 Fairview, we're going to put off till the end of our meeting tonight because Bartek is in that loud meeting next door. And when that's over, he will come over and we will move back. So that means moving up the update on the fire department EMS services. Mayor Noble, welcome.
Great, thank you. Yeah, as we said, we wanted to kind of keep everybody updated with what's been happening. And there's a couple of key things that I wanted to get across. Hopefully, you saw in your packets and hopefully Roy was able to send you a color version, which is much better than the black and white. But we were able to have a study done that we talked about a few months ago. And this study goes through basically what our current status of the fire department is of EMTs. It talked about what our proposed plan was to be able to provide 2 full-time, 24-hour ALS units, and whether that plan was appropriate based on the call volume. And so you'll see the consultants looked at all the call volume from all the county 911. They provided a variety of maps showing kind of where the calls were coming from, what neighborhoods. They created some what are called heat maps that kind of looked at the amount of calls in that neighborhood. And in the end, the bottom line of the study was that what the chief and I proposed with having 2 full-time ALS ambulances does meet adequately our current demand. With again, in those cases where we do have additional calls, we also do talk about that we do have a 3rd backup ambulance that can be put into service at this time when they all ring, the phone rings all at the same time, right? And so the study goes into also a little bit more detail as to where these ambulances to be located. At this point, we proposed, and I think the consultant agrees that, having everyone at central, because our fire station is locally centered in kind of the geographic center of our city, does make sense. If ambulance service does expand, we do have the ability of placing units at the other ends of our city as well, which would not hurt. But at this point, having it be centrally located makes sense for us from, cost and supervision perspective. I think that the plan, also gave us an opportunity to get a little bit of a glimpse into what potential revenue could look like. Again, not having done this yet, and having the consultant not seeing kind of what, our actual numbers are going to be, because we were only about a month and a half into this when the consultant wrote this report. We really, were able to, have an estimate of about $1.1 million in revenue. We think that now that our next topic, we'll be talking about the billing company that we have on track to come on board. We'll have a much better estimate as to what is going to be able to be brought in as revenue once we actually start collecting revenue. So that is just a little bit of a summary of the report. If anyone has any specific questions on the report, the chief and I would be happy to, John, we're all involved in the process, and so we can help answer any questions on the report at this time.
Any questions?
I don't have a question, but I just wanted to say it, all in all, it seemed very positive in terms of how the city is able to handle the calls that are coming in now and that we're meeting certain standards. And so it seemed very positive to me. That's good.
Regarding the breakdown of the priority of EMS activity, how is critical defined differently from unstable? Could you give us an example of what an unstable is?
Unstable would be a broken leg.
Okay.
Would be, I'm sorry, what was
Broken leg. They just have a fracture, a bone fracture, that's all. If it's a broken femur, it may get kicked up because of the artery that's alongside of it. A critical could be anything from someone having chest pains to an unknown. We do not categorize what the call is. 911 dispatcher labels the call. And they can only label the call by the information that they get from the party that's calling. So the party's calling, he says, there's a person down on the sidewalk, and they have no additional information. Then it goes out as a critical. Because 911 can't magically say, well, was the person sleeping on the sidewalk? Did they have a heart attack? You know, or they went into cardiac arrest? They have no idea. So you send the paramedic to that call. And then what we have set up right now is if we have one paramedic on duty, one BLS, basic life support, we always have two on duty, two shifts, two ambulances on the road. If one's basic support and one is a medic, the medic gets there and finds out it's just someone sleeping on the sidewalk or someone that may be under the influence of alcohol and needs to go to detox, they'll call the BLS bus over. So the medic does not get tied up with it. We reserve the medic for the next call, maybe third call. So we don't have any, we have no choice in the matter. Now, two ALS ambulances running, which one ship has the ability to, doesn't matter what comes in, you get a paramedic.
Right.
So do we bill different, well, we're not billing yet, but will we be billing differently
Yes.
for a critical call versus a non?
Critical one, critical two, and BLS.
Okay.
BLS, wow.
Other questions?
I think that's a great, go ahead.
Just what is the status of the billing?
Yes,
Like,
so
to getting it?
yes.
Okay,
So,
thanks.
that's a great segue. So, the next part of this is that, you may remember we put out a request for proposals, to be able to bring on a billing company. We, I think received, was it 5 total? 4?
It was at least
5, it was 5, right? Yeah, so we had 5, proposals come in. The team was able to review all of those proposals. They then held interviews to be able to look a little bit deeper into the proposals. I think it was a unanimous decision on our part that QMC was the best vendor, which is quick head claims. So they go by QMC. And they had by far the best presentation. They had the best, from at least my perspective, the best ability to be able to assist us in starting this from the beginning, from scratch. They have been extremely attentive so far in terms of working with the staff. I think you guys have weekly calls with them.
We scheduled some calls.
To be able to kind of get our entire program up and running. And have really, they had great references from communities both in New York State and outside of New York State. And their software seems really easy to use for our staff, from at least the demo that we got. And so we thought that that was also very helpful. And so our goal is to, we I think just are in contracting phase now with them, even though we started already doing weekly calls. And my understanding is that if all goes well, by June, we should be officially live in terms of being able to have QMC take what are called PCRs. And these PCRs are basically written during any time that one of our ambulances go on the scene. And we try to get basically patient information. And then what did our staff do on scene to be able to assist that person? And so they're written differently depending on the type of call and the level of care needed. That is then transferred electronically, securely, to this company, who will then take that and turn that into what is the crazy world of insurance billing, and be able to turn that into actual codes and claim numbers, and to be able to then get it submitted on behalf of the city. And then the reimbursement process starts through the insurance company. And so the goal is June 1st. We hope to be able to do some back billing, as we've discussed. We don't know how far back we're going to get to go. They're still trying to figure that out now in terms of Medicare, Medicaid, that they all have different rules, and how far back we can go. And yeah, I think that's, what am I missing?
No, I think you touched on all major areas. One nice thing with this company is we're working with them to set up a lockbox account, so the payments will go to the third party, and they'll be made out to the city of Kingston, and they will get deposited remotely and electronically into our bank account. So there won't be a handling of cash, which is nice.
Will there be a fee by volume, or will there be a set fee by month or year? Like, how will that?
For the vendor, it's,
Yes.
they propose 4.25% of the net collected claims for non-Medicaid claims. So it would be not what we bill, what we actually collected. We'd be invoiced monthly. So I would expect you'll see a voucher. They don't take it out of our bank account. We actually have to cut them a check. So.
But they're not going to be taking anything from somebody who goes to pay the bill, right? It'll just be.
When you said, no, they're, any payment that QMC will receive will be directly from the city of Kingston. They're not getting a percentage of, they're not taking anything off the top. You know, they're gonna send us a report on a monthly basis. You know, it'll have to substantiate the collections, the net collections for that month. And then our payment to them based on that report and a voucher, we would cut a check for it. The council would get, you know, a copy of that. There will be some time constraints in getting that payment out, but, you know, I think that's as transparent as, you know, we get. I mean, that was wonderful. I mean, I don't know what every other operation does, but, for them to, you know, accept a monthly voucher, a monthly check, which is a little slower process, than taking anything off the top or withdrawing anything electronically, I think is ideal for us. So, you know, we're receiving money up front and then paying them after the fact, so.
So what's happening in the meanwhile until this gets going in June? Billing that's happening?
No, nothing can happen right now.
We're just collecting more PCRs. So how many PCRs are we up to at this point?
1,248.
And hopefully this will be retroactive in terms of payments.
For some time period, we don't know if we'll get all of them to January anymore, so
Okay, thank you.
as far back as they allow us to.
We're rapidly getting all the paperwork that's needed. You know, we set up a bank account in about 2 days. You know, we're working on some federal forms that we need. But once again, we're doing these monthly meetings or weekly meetings. And I think we're progressing through the paperwork pretty quick.
Have we been able to estimate, or our consultants been able to estimate exactly how much revenue we can generate from this?
Somewhere between 1.1 million and 1 point something else, probably. We just don't know.
And that's per year, that's not since January 1. Right?
Yeah, it's per year. And so somewhere, we do think that the 1.1 is a conservative estimate. And it will probably be more than that, but we just don't know how high yet. Because it really will depend on the call the kind of the insurance makeup. And so what's interesting, as we all know about our healthcare system, is that, for instance, Medicaid or Medicare have capped rates that they will pay for ambulance transport, which is very low, somewhere between $300 and $500, where private insurance will pay somewhere like what we all like, you know, when employees get healthcare through their insurance, their employers, they will then pay somewhere between, you know, $1,500 to $1,800 we've seen, for the same ambulance ride. And so between all of that mix, we will then have varying levels of payment based on, what type of insurance you have, and then that mix will then obviously make a big impact on how much revenue we actually generate. But we really don't know that mix yet, until we do it.
Yeah, it's part into this.
Yeah.
We have money earmarked for non-insured. What happens with?
And so I think our intent together has been to continue to provide service for free to those that are uninsured. And we will continue to do that, even with this insurance billing. I think my intent anyway, once we have an insurance biller, is that the insurance biller is just going to bill insurance companies and not people who don't have insurance. And so we have to kind of create some of those policies probably more officially somewhere down the line, but we, I think all have agreed already that, we are going to continue to provide that free service to those who can't.
So is there a plan in place to recoup those funds? That would be great.
Well, so there's some that will be basically timed out, right? So for back billing, we may not be able to go back that far, and we're just going to continue to, have done that as a public service. I think going forward, if there are folks, insurance companies or others that don't pay the bill that they get, that will have to, we haven't crossed that bridge yet on what happens. And we're looking at kind of best practices and models that other cities have used and what this company's experience. And so over the next few weeks, I think that we'll get into more of those conversations. But we, again, our expression has been, we will, never turn anyone away. And that's another benefit of, the company only charging for the net collections, which means if, the money doesn't come in, we don't have to also pay, that 4.5% or whatever it is on top of that. So we're only paying for what we get. So if we choose not to bill, then, that's just our decision.
I kind of hate to be the downer here, but I know that sometimes folks use the ambulance service as more of a taxi service. Have you experienced that since January? And this is like, I definitely appreciate and support people who are uninsured to have free service. But, I don't want that to be taken advantage of for your department's time, and I'm just wondering if you.
Well, it gets, that's
I know that's a tricky question.
tricky question,
Yeah.
because we get called, if they verbalize, they got a problem.
Yeah.
So we have to treat what they're saying, what they're giving us, the information they're giving us, what they gave the dispatcher, we have to treat them. So if the hospital turns around and says there's nothing wrong, then that's.
Yeah, I think
We
the
did our
issue too would be more of leaving the hospital too, now that I'm like saying it out loud versus getting to the hospital, but. All right.
One thing I'll just add is that, one of the other benefits that we have is that when our staff arrive on scene, we do have the ability to also call for our mental health staff, whether it's mental health ambulance, is that there may be and they're really great at diverting from the hospital to other services for folks who may be in need, but maybe aren't medically in the need of a hospital. And we've been able to kind of share that resource, and that has helped and will help, I think, going forward, where other ambulance companies don't have that going for them, and so they have another option.
Will we always be able to just transmit the PCRs and not have to have like a record retention system, electronic system in the future?
What was it?
Are we always going to be able to just give that billing company the PCRs in the future?
How
Or
the
are we gonna
billing
have to
company gonna get
transition?
their information is there's the secure backdoor through Image Trend that they'll have access to our PCRs and draw the information
Okay.
out. We will always retain our PCRs.
Right, but we won't have to buy like a software system to enter anything new and transmit it.
No,
Okay.
it's all the software that utilize Image Trend as a software.
Okay.
We pay an annual fee for that.
Okay.
But they have a relationship with, and QMC has a relationship with infrastructure. And, we have to by law, maintain what is yours.
Any other questions? Right, so there's no specific request, it's just,
No, not tonight, just updating everybody.
no, it's a committee report for it, so.
Yeah, we don't really know what to. Yeah, I think we just said, an update.
It's all right.
Yeah.
Good, thank you for that, we really appreciate it. We still don't have fire tech, so we're gonna move on to the pipe plan, but I would like to ask first that we break for an attorney-client session before we go into this discussion. Is that okay with everybody? Yeah, okay. So, Mayor, were you gonna present it all on the pipe plan?
Yeah.
Can we invite you to stay then?
Sure, that'd be great. Yeah.
So this attorney-client session is regarding the pipe plan?
Yes.
I wasn't anticipating this. I see Jeannie's there, so I need to pull up the conference call numbers.
Okay. Oh, and we'd like to invite John Thuy to attend. Thanks.
And Carol. I don't know how to do this.
Instead, you gotta.
Just us mute and close video. Thank you. Jeannie, actually before. Yeah, Jeannie, if you want to call the conference number.
Conference number?
The conference number that I emailed you all and requested that you all save it someplace handy.
I don't think I saved it.
Good luck. Good luck with that.
Don't say it out loud, don't say it, don't say it. I will forward you an email with it.
Yeah.
I never stop, oh my God.
4, 5, 6.
I have an ulcer right now, don't make it worse.
Do you want to just call my phone?
Sure, we'll do that.
All right,
All
it's
right.
8,
I'm
No,
turning it
2-4.
off. I'm turning it off.
242. Really?
Executive sessions, thank you, Attorney Quinn. This time's on. Great, welcome back, everybody. So the next item on our agenda is regarding the pike plan and its future. Mayor Noble, President Schatz, can you tell us what's up with this?
Sure. Well, thank you, Rennie, and I guess I'll start and then Andrea. We, as we all know, the pike plan has been a part of our community for a long time. It's also been a topic of discussion. And I know as mayor now, I'm starting my 9th year, and we've had the pike plan discussion a bunch. And I think one of the things that I've been really looking into a lot here in the city myself personally is just the effects of urban renewal on our city. You know, I've worked a lot with individuals downtown and neighborhoods that were lost and kind of the changes that occurred. And it really kind of set me down a path of thinking about the changes that also occurred uptown, while maybe not as researched. There's a great book that came out recently about Kingston's history and really kind of looked at how our community was changed by urban renewal and the concept of being able to kind of create a community that was more like suburbia and more of an environment that would be able to compete with what was happening around us in the Hudson Valley. And one of the prime examples I thought of was, well, let's look at the pike plan. I mean, for folks who may not be familiar, and I shared some pictures, as a part of urban renewal, this concept of developing this outdoor walkable mall was presented as an ability to kind of push back against what was happening in the town of Ulster in particular with these outdoor auto-oriented malls. Kingston said, well, let's close our streets in uptown Kingston. Let's create an outdoor mall. We'll build some canopies to be able to connect this outdoor mall to the community, to the space. And it was, received well at the time by some, but not by others, because of the really further denigration of the historic buildings that existed on that block. And unfortunately, a lot of those voices were lost, as we know, in urban renewal. We were losing buildings left and right, and everyone, and it's what really started the Friends of Historic Kingston was the fact of preserving. But things like the pike plan were able to be pursued very quickly and without maybe some of the same, thought about historic preservation and the impacts that it would have on our buildings. And so it was done. And it was only done halfway. As we all know, we do not have an outdoor walkable mall in uptown Kingston. We have a very busy street corridor with this attached awning happening that is there. And for me, it's further complicated by the fact that it's also city owned. And I've always said to myself when I think about the pipeline, I think about, imagine if the city owned my front porch. How would I feel about that? And what would be the impacts of having an owner that was not me as the person who owned the building right there? And so with all of that, those are some of my thoughts. But Andrea, do you want to share kind of where you came from?
Yeah, so I don't have that much more to add, but the reason why I'm really excited that we're bringing this to the council, and I think it's every 2 years, we bring it back, and it's a hard decision because you're going to hear a lot of people who want to keep it and a lot of people who don't want to keep it. It's a really hard decision for us to make. But we need to make the decision. We need to do it. We can't just kick it down the road again. Is that the same? Kick it down the road? Kick the can down the road? Kick the can down the road. So I just hope this is the council that ultimately makes the decision. Obviously, supportive of taking it down. However, I'm more supportive of the idea that we make a decision on what to do with the bike plan. Because Otherwise, it'll be another 2 years and we talk about it again, and we should just be the council that makes the decision. Is my firm belief, and then going back to my personal belief, it just stems from, when I think about Kingston, I think about the history of Kingston, and when I think about the history of Kingston, I don't think 1970s. And so, I know there's an argument going around that 1970s is now historic. Perhaps it is, but when you think of historic Kingston, you're not thinking 1970s. And, seeing the photos, and actually that's what stemmed it, there was pictures of, from the book, I believe, and then heard rumors that Steve was supportive of tearing them down, so I approached him and like, I am too, let's see what we can do and at least get the ball rolling. So that's where I'm coming from, and I hope that this is the beginning of a conversation that we continue, so we don't kick it down the road, but I also know it's a really big decision, this is gonna take some time. I don't know if you want to talk about next steps.
I think one of the things that Andrew and I talked about is that we know that there's also, there's a lot to be learned about kind of how we got here and where we're headed, the costs associated with all of these proposals that are floating around out there. And, maybe there's an opportunity for us to have also a little bit more of a public information session and kind of public forum that could allow us to be able to bring in some different experts and to be able to help answer some more questions and to be able to have kind of fuller dialogue with just kind of setting the stage where we can share information. These are many people in this community that don't even know that the city of Kingston owns the pipeline. Right. And I think that, Andrew and I agree that we'd be willing to kind of help put together this event and to really be able to kind of bring some more public awareness and, bring in some, as I mentioned, some people with some different backgrounds that have been engaged with this over the last 40 years, that can be able to share their expertise and their information. And we thought that could maybe be a reasonable next step as we kind of move forward in this effort.
And not necessarily, actually, not a public hearing in the sense of how our normal public hearings operate, but so that we can have more of an educational, so it's not just people coming, we don't talk to them, they talk to us, they get their 3 minutes, but more of a panel discussion, like Steve said, and education for us, for the public, and so that we could then go forward and, maybe have an opportunity for public to speak then, or maybe we say, let's do this educational forum and then have another public hearing at another time. And I reached out to somebody who's trying to help pull a similar project that happens and to go through to look at what their process was. So we're continually doing research. So just wanted to clarify that, the headlines in the papers aren't saying that it's coming down tomorrow. Right?
My hands are right, so.
So at this point, we have no clear estimates about costs of whichever direction we go in. What it would cost to tear down, cost for maintenance in the future, renovation.
Yeah, we have ballpark estimates that our city engineers created for a variety of different paths we may choose to take, and we can definitely present those when the council asks for those. So
but those were also done before the increased costs and everything for the COVID crisis.
Yes, right, and so we've estimated kind of what those extra add-on costs could be, but they are all just estimates. We haven't done any bidding on any of this work, and so we won't have actual numbers until we put a project together. But John has the ability to provide some information to the council when requested, either now or sometime in the future.
And I just want to clarify too, there is no process through which the mayor and the alderman at large can single-handedly make a decision like this, correct?
We're literally the only two elected officials who don't have a vote on anything like this.
So make sure, because
yeah,
some of the materials we're reading, people understood that somehow this was a fait accompli.
No, it was a suggesting that we hope you adapt, but if you don't, that's okay too. But yeah, we're the only ones here who don't. It should all be in your hands.
Okay. Questions?
I think it's a great idea, to bring the community together, to opine on where they see this going. You know, I think it's great, that you consider it. Let's hear from the community, see what they have to say. I just think it's a good idea, and I'm looking forward to talking about it.
Mike?
But I mean, I've got about 45 questions, so I'm happy to go last. But this just seems like educating the public on this plan of getting rid of the pike plan, not having a dialogue with the public on where they stand on the pike.
I don't,
How
I have
understood what
no,
you said.
no, I didn't say that. I was just saying education panel. I didn't say
Because I don't think.
on my,
Public, I think the public needs to educate us.
There
Well,
needs to be
I-
a discussion.
Yeah,
yeah, and I did say educate us and the public. I didn't say we were going to be educating the public. The panel will be, and I also did not say it would be a bias panel. So that's kind of some presumptions that you made.
Okay.
And this would sort of look at the history, how it came to be, various, right? Okay. And would there be a Q&A potentially following the panel presentation? Or that's something that we would.
Yeah, and if anybody, I mean, I know Steve and I have not talked about this, so he could give me a look, but if anybody wants to help, if we want, especially somebody who's opposed to our plan, wants to help with this, okay, we are definitely open to that, it's because it's not supposed to be a biased panel discussion. And then, yeah, so plan like a Q&A, again, we don't have it, this was just starting a conversation, so Q&A is definitely an option, so.
I appreciate that.
And I think the process has to be something that's geared toward developing some clear criteria for making a decision, because that's been our problem all along the line, is if you simply say, keep it up, tear it down, we end up getting basically 5149, and it's different 5149 every time.
Right.
So a crucial thing has to do with developing criteria for making a decision as opposed to just how we feel on Thursday or Tuesday. Tara?
So, one of the first things you said was that you were sort of looking at urban renewal and the effect that it had on the character of Kingston. And it's funny because I had the same thought when thinking about the possibility of tearing down the Pike plan, that it seems that we were, and again, I understand that it's not your intention, this is just, something that you're considering, that the council's considering, that this could possibly amount to the same thing. That this structure now may well be eligible for National Register listing because it is 50 years old or nearing 50 years old, so it can be nominated, it might be eligible. So one of the things that I would ask is that SHPO be brought in to this conversation and look at whether or not it could be designated an historic structure.
And so my understanding in dealing with SHPO on projects is that until a project is proposed and the project triggers their review, they will not review the project until that happens.
Right.
And so they have said to us, when it is time to review, if it meets their requirements to review something, they will be more than happy to weigh in on the historical significance, whether it is a part of now or not, they will help say.
Well, that their review would be triggered by a PDIL, which is a preliminary determination of historic importance. So I would be prepared to write that up and have them review it and see if in fact the structure is eligible.
We can talk, my understanding is that they won't do that until an action is proposed that goes in front of, our city government. I don't think that they will do it in advance of the decision-making process, is our understanding of the SHPO.
No, this would be to determine if it can be nominated. So it would actually, the city would have to approve the submission of this, what's called a PDIL, which essentially is a narrative about the importance, the historic importance of this particular structure. If they decide that, no, it does not fit, then
And are you speaking of the structure that was built in 2010 or the structure that was built in 1970?
the
one
original.
the original one was
The
torn
original.
down.
So
that's
it's
still
not-
the Pike plan.
So the Pike plan itself is,
It was built in 2010.
The US
That's when it was-
Constitution has had everything replaced, it's still the US
I'm just saying,
Constitution.
from a, just.
Ship of Theseus.
right, so it was rehabilitated.
Can could you reach out to SHPO and ask if it's been not reinvented, what's the word, rehabbed in 2010? Can you go back still to 1970? Can you find out that
Yeah,
information?
see if
Because that might make it a moot point.
Yeah.
Would you do that? Okay, thank you. And then we could take it from there.
Right.
That makes sense?
Well,
Because if they're gonna say, no, it was rehabbed, the time now is 2010 versus 1970. But if then they come back and say, no, you can go back to
it
1970.
depends on the extent of the rehabilitation.
Yeah,
But was it?
and I don't
substantial-
know.
Was it substantially rehabilitated?
I mean, I could be wrong, but our engineer, I believe it was actually completely demolished.
Completely demolished and then put up in 2010?
Sure.
Yeah, John, you can confirm that for us.
John,
Oh, there he comes.
what?
Hey, good evening. I'm sorry, I think I missed what the exact question is.
John, are you familiar with what work was done in 2010 on the Pike plan?
Yeah.
Was it completely removed and or replaced, or did they leave any of the existing infrastructure on site?
Well, I wasn't here then, but I'm somewhat familiar with the plans and the scope of work, what it was then. I mean, I think a big part of what was done then was adding the skylights and adding the metal roof, the green metal roof that you see today. So those were significant changes from what had been there before. I think also some of the column styles were changed at that time. Yeah, it had a relatively different appearance, I think, after the rehab.
But we can get more information. Yeah, thank you, John.
Good.
Can I go through my list of questions?
Sure, but only if there are questions relating to the process that we're talking about.
Sure.
Not specific, because this is the question time, so no polemics, no veiled.
I mean, I would start off by saying ship of Theseus, but but sure, feel free to stop me if my questions delve too into the philosophical, is that your concern? Polemical?
In other words, this is not the time for the debate, what I'm saying.
Sure.
This is just like finding information.
Yeah, okay. So could you, I'll direct them at you, Steve, and if anybody else could take them, because you're right across from me. So could you walk us through the sort of annual schedule of maintenance for the plan?
Sure.
And like what the budget of the maintenance of the Pike plan is, other than I know that DPW goes out and sprays the sidewalk, I'm talking about the structure.
Sure. So, we have our staff, we have basically two staff that work generally on, other than the building and grounds crews being under it. We have a carpenter who deals with all of the carpentry issues that pop up with it. And then we have an electrician who deals with all the electrical issues that pop up with it. And so between those two employees, there's usually one of them up there at least one time a week dealing with something, whether it's painting that happened a few years ago or last year on Front Street in front of one of the places that had some deteriorating painting, or cleaning out gutters, gutter repairs that we did this year. At this point, there is no staff directly assigned to the Pike plan. And so the only, and so the budget reflects having in the Buildings and Grounds Department, I think in 2024, there's $50,000 for materials and supplies, but that's split between a variety of city public spaces. In average, my understanding is between the maintenance costs and, the daily, ongoings of the pipeline, there's probably between 10 and 20,000 that's spent on like the pipe plan itself every year, and probably about $100,000 of staff time used like on and around the pipe plan that the city pays for on that stretch.
And that includes the building and grounds.
Yeah.
So when was the last, do you mind if I keep going?
You go.
When was the last time that DPW came before the city council to ask for an increase in that budget?
In 2023.
And what was it from, if you recall?
I think it was 10 to 20 and went to 50.
Okay. So, sorry, this is a little scattered. So the last survey is from 2019, obviously. 2019 feels like a century ago, and our city has had significant changes since 2019. Why, are we gonna issue a new survey about how people think for this process? Are we going to, I don't know, just relying on 2019 data when our city has monumentally changed from 2019 seems like using an outdated data set.
Sure. I mean, I don't think anything in my letter, Andrea, actually refers to the 2019 study at all, or the survey at all.
No,
and so I'm not, I do think having an opportunity for the public to, learn about the pipeline and share with us their thoughts on, this piece of city infrastructure. But again, I think that survey, I'm not including at all in my thinking at this point.
Yeah, and in 2019, when that survey came back, I don't remember the exact issues, but the Common Council, we weren't really satisfied with feeling like that was the true results, which was one of the reasons why we kind of stopped that conversation that year. So I think, what was that?
It was not a statistically significant survey.
So we weren't really satisfied with it at the time. So it made, in this process that we develop, I think it's really important to figure out how we're gonna do a survey.
Yeah.
And how we could do it where we're gonna be satisfied with not the outcome of the person. I don't want you to presume anything, but just that we actually we feel comfortable that this is the collective, opinions of the community. So we'll, that will be part of the process.
Okay. Next question. So has
Pre-approval is not necessary, so.
You have the floor.
I will keep asking until stopped. So has the grant office pursued grant funding in the past recently actively for upkeep of the canopies? I know that this was the 2012 iteration, ship of Theseus, that was largely provided by Maurice Hinchy and someone in Cahill, I believe. So what is have we pursued grant funding for its upkeep? Have we pursued state budget funding for its upkeep?
What do you consider upkeep?
That's a good point.
What am I asking for a grant for? Right, so that's the issue, is that since 2019, I have not had clear guidance from the county council on what to do about the pipeline. And so that's really what I'm asking as the mayor, right, for clear guidance on a direction forward, so that then I can help direct my staff as to what direction we're headed, and even if, regardless of the direction we're headed, should this still be an entity, a fixture that's owned by the city of Kingston? Or should the private building owners own this? Like, these are all questions that we have to determine, and then that also then goes into whether we should even be applying for grants or not, or this,
Thank you, I appreciate that. So that sort of leads into my next question, your answer, which is if there is a property owner who likes the canopies and wants to take over that ownership of it under this, do we have a mechanism for that, or would that be possible under a new scheme is the wrong word, but
I think all options are on the table.
MOA?
I think I think what we're trying to get at with this is that we need to do something. I believe, but, you know, I'm open to what that looks like in the future. So we just need to, I think during this process, I really think we have the ability to lay out, you know, all of the options, for this facility, and then we as a city, right, can also determine, you know, what are not in the best interest of the city too, and then determine kind of how all the puzzle pieces fit together, because you can have things that are to the benefit of the property owners and things that are, you know, not to the benefit of the city, and everyone could still possibly be happy with whatever solution you choose in the end, but we just have never really kind of charted that path officially and deeply and clearly so that we can all see what our options are.
And I think it's more nuanced than just take it down, leave it up. And, you know, as you're thinking about it and talking with constituents, it'd be great if you had, like, here's another option that they could explore and put it in the pool of things to consider. It would be great.
I think that's certainly possible. So next question is, I'm trying to think if this is too polemic or not. So I kind of see the Pike plan from walking down it every single day, that it serves as a large traffic calming device. It slows traffic down on Wall Street and North Front Street. It is a psychologically enclosing space, which critics of the Pike plan like to highlight that, but I think it is a positive. How can we, you know, I think that's something that we need to consider in the future is how do we calm traffic on those, because the pictures you provided are all car centric. It looks like we're inviting cars back onto a place where we don't want cars to be.
Yeah, and so I would say that people who double park on Wall and North Front are traffic calming measures. Much more so than the Pike plan.
Oh, yeah.
And I do believe that the bump outs actually are probably, you know, officially they are traffic calming measures, right? And I'm not, you know, we're not proposing that they be removed. We're not proposing anything at this point. I would need to make a decision on something. But I do think that traffic calming should be thought of anytime we're doing, you know, streetscape work. And it's a part of what we do and what John's office does. And I think it's a part of, you know, we decide to relook at the overall streetscape. You know, I would also love to have trees that don't die every year in these concrete bathtubs, right? I'd love to be able to someday plant trees in the ground that can actually grow tall and actually live. Instead, we keep, you know, planting things that die every year, right? So there's lots of things I think we all could collectively want to change about the streetscape. That I would love to be a part of this discussion with the community is like, what would they like to see, you know, happen? And who knows, maybe people will tell us that they want Wall Street, North Front Street closed and be pedestrian only. Who knows, right? And I just think that we really want to be able to have that, you know, discussion about streetscape and how people feel about it.
Thank you. Two last questions, I think. So I guess this might be the same answer as the grant and state budget funding, but was this ever considered for ARPA funding? It seems like the maintenance of it would be eligible for business interruption, pedestrian encouragement, all of these things. Like the upkeep of the Pike plant to me seems like a perfect candidate for ARPA funds.
Yeah, so this council, you know, set up the ARPA plan. You know, there were a few big buckets that, you know, created, you know, where we had access to ARPA funds. You know, over $5 million was dedicated toward housing. $5 million was dedicated to about 3 different projects, mostly focused on, you know, helping improve pedestrian safety. So that in Henry Street, Clinton Avenue that we're doing in Uptown Kingston right now, and a few other, you know, smaller infrastructure projects. And then the rest went to support nonprofits and our businesses. And so that $17 million went really fast. And I think that, you know, the Pike plan only affects 40 buildings out of a city of, 8,000 parcels. And so I think really trying to look at where we could use that ARPA money and to come back. And so that's why, for the $1 million that we put toward businesses, we wanted to kind of get it directly into the hands of businesses across the city. And so none of us, I don't think, thought about the pipeline when we were doing the ARPA allocation. And we didn't get it from the public either during any of the surveys that we did about where we should put ARPA money.
So maybe this is a question for John, but are we able to quantify the amount of tourism dollars that come to specifically to Uptown Kingston?
I don't have that data. If that's a question that's related to sales tax data, we do not get supporting figures for sales tax.
Okay.
And we
Just walk around Uptown saying, where are you from? What'd you buy?
That's what I mean. Why are you here?
Also ask them if they have an umbrella. But maybe would the county tourism office have that information?
I
That
can
level?
certainly ask Lisa. Would love to. But I didn't want to ask you guys first. And then I think my final question is, how will it, if we take the Pike Plan down, how will it be determined what damage has been caused? Is there a way to measure infrastructure that has been impacted by this structure versus the damage that could have occurred to a 150-year-old building through the course of its lifespan?
Sorry, you're just talking about the damage associated with the process of removing the
Yes.
structure, like with the takedown? Is that what you mean?
That would be way down the line for trying to figure
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry if I'm getting too esoteric. Sorry.
Let's have the community conversation first. Let's learn about, where we're headed, and then I think we could then dig into more deeply into some of those conversations.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be a really crucial question depending on what direction we would go with.
Yeah, I think that could certainly impact costs.
So type that one up.
I believe Terrell had a question.
Terrell.
Well, was there ever a special assessment associated with this for the business owners?
My understanding that when this pipeline was placed on the properties, an easement was granted by every property owner that allowed the city to attach this fixture to their building, and that the businesses agreed in that easement that they would pay for the maintenance and upkeep of that structure. When the project was done in 2010 to 2012, there was
the renovation.
The renovation project. There are publicly available and documented, instances that construction did not go well. And there was a lawsuit. And at the time coming into office, I began those lawsuits, even though it was beyond the time frame, but we still were able to settle and receive some funds. And at the time, I felt the businesses had already been paying on the remaining bond for that construction project. So that bond was put on, everything above and beyond the grant was put on the businesses. And I felt that because of all of the issues related to that, lawsuit, that, and there was only a few $1,000s left of an assessment that the city chose to pay off the remaining balance of that at the time. And so that's kind of when the special assessment ended, and there has not been a tax on those property owners above and beyond the traditional property taxes.
And that's when the Pike Commission was dissolved.
All right, Go ahead, Andrew.
Can I just summarize the next steps? Steve and I and Michael will coordinate to figure out the beginning of the panel. And then you'll reach out to Shippo with the question that Turtle had and let us know the answer to that. And then I guess the three of us will get back to everybody about.
Carol, do you want to be involved in that group?
Sure.
Very good.
Thank you.
You're volunteering to be in the group too?
No, I did not. Yeah, I just want to make one comment here. Looking around, I'm sure that I'm the only person in this room that has lived through urban renewal and the bike plan and all these kind of things. I'm not sure if this is the point that the mayor was trying to make when he started. But urban renewal was just rammed down our throats. We didn't have any input, not me, I was a kid at the time. But I don't recall any parents talking about any discussions. It was just done. I don't recall a lot about the bike plan. It seemed like it was more public related. But I think we're going about this the right way now, opening this up to the public. People are still bitter about urban renewal. We don't want to give them another reason to be bitter. We want to include them in the process. And we've been talking about this pretty much since I've been on the council. And we don't seem to be getting any closer to it. So I appreciate you coming forward so we can come up with a plan to involve the public in this. And let's get it done. Let's get it done the right way.
This is the year. No matter what the decision is, this is the year.
All right. Okay, we've been trying to keep this conversation going so we don't have to deal with Bartek, but just kidding, Bartek. So let's go ahead. We do have two things left, but we'll go ahead and talk your issue because the other one is we don't need to keep you for that.
Okay. We have two things, one thing.
Two things. We've got a clerk, a request from the clerk for
Right.
financial thing, and Bartek's talking about.
Oh, including Bartek.
Yes. So we're not voting on this committee report.
No, never mind. So Kwame,
Oh, no.
Kwame, are you there? Can you put the pipeline issue onto old business for next month's finance committee meeting?
I'll make note of that.
And just a general comment, maybe we don't have committee reports, we know that it's not, like, we're not sure if it's gonna be voted on. Because I just, scrolling through Michael, looking over his shoulder, like, we knew, just, I don't know if you want to let your department heads know. That if it's just
I
like.
always feel like we get yelled at if we don't have a committee report, and so I think.
You could.
Like, the thought is like we should send a committee report for everything, but.
I think it confuses people, so you could blame me, everybody here could blame me, but I think it confuses people, so I prefer.
You guys are willing to write the committee reports here, it's much better for us.
Well, honestly, a lot of the committees do in finance, just because of the numbers, we typically like to have them. But that doesn't mean we can't write them, and I think it would be a lot more transparent if.
There's always numbers in there.
If the committee reports weren't on there, we know that it's not, so, thank you.
All right. Bartek, welcome.
Thank you. Apologies for the noise next door.
What was that meeting?
So that was the kickoff meeting for the Midtown Thriving Project, which is a 18-month planning process to designate the Midtown area as a brownfield opportunity area. So that meeting was held in collaboration with Pattern for Progress, and we had really great participation.
Can you give us a brief review of what the general gist was?
This meeting introduced everyone that attended about the planning process and kind of the various stages of community input that we'll be doing. It also introduced what the actual boundaries of the brownfield opportunity area will be, and also the specific sites that we'll be focusing on within the town.
So I know there was some concern, people hear that and they hear urban renewal part 2, but it's nothing like that, right?
We're focusing on already vacant or underutilized sites. Yes.
Okay, good, thank you.
Okay, so this is a quick matter related to the potential related to 168 Fairview Avenue, Because this is related to the potential sale of the city-owned property, I am requesting executive session, if that's, okay.
That needs to be a vote.
Second.
We have to say exactly what it's for, though. You have to make a motion.
I make a motion that we go into executive session to discuss a potential sale of city-owned property. And I would like to make sure that Artec, the mayor, council, and John and Alderwoman Terrell.
You don't have to.
You don't have
Because you'd have to include.
And Michelle, can join, join in executive session.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're going into executive session. Yeah, again, well, no.
No, this is different.
First, we turn client.
Sorry.
Thank you.
One more agenda item?
One more.
We have to end, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, Steve.
I have pinned the conference number.
Yeah, the gold star for you.
So the last item on the agenda is a transfer from contingency in the amount of $5,000 in the secret budget to cover overages in judgment and claims. So $5,000. We have a motion to discuss. Sorry. Oh, Sarah Passy and Steve Shabbat. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Great. All the invoices. receipts.
These are all freeze. Those are not.
Andrew, where are you with hiring a clerky consultant?
Yeah, I will give you an update at the next conference, hopefully.
Okay.
Okay.
Just thought you were excellent.
Just make it nice.
It's not for that's all.
How are you, those for you?
Oh, okay.
All right. Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second, third, fourth. All right. Can we turn off the video stuff?
Have a good night.
Good night.
Thank you.